guys, welcome to Extreme Daily Drivers, where we are always balling on a budget and wrenching in our garage. It is another Toaster Tuesday, and I'm super excited about today's video. So today we're going to be discussing intakes for your Scion XB, and before we get into it, I just want to say, over the last month or so, the channel has done a lot of growth, and my views, my likes, my comments have been way up, and I know it's because of this Scion XB content, and I want to thank you guys so much for the support that you guys have given over the last month. Every single comment, every single like, every single view really counts, really helps, and with everything that you guys are doing, the channel is just going to get better and better and better, because everything that I get out of this channel, I roll right back into this channel. So thank you for your support. It really means a lot. So the goal of this video is to make a custom intake that is going to give us our best kind of chance for max horsepower as well as look cool. Those are our two things that we're after. So I have had a couple intake setups on the XB. They've been decent, possible increase in horsepower, possible increase in fuel efficiency, definitely increase in sound. But honestly, all the setups that I've run, they've had their issues. We're going to talk about the setups that I've run right now. So this is the first intake setup that I had on my Scion XB. This is a cold air intake that I got off of eBay. I think it was like $50 shipped or something along those lines. Please ignore the filter element. That's just one I kind of have lying around. I just have it laid on there so you can get an idea of how this thing is supposed to look. And the way this thing works, that's going to hook to your throttle body. That vacuum line is going to go ahead to your valve cover, and it snakes around down underneath the bumper and down to your driver's side fender. Now this intake does a really good job of bringing cold air to the engine, which obviously the colder air, the more dense air, the better the burn that we're going to have. We're going to create more horsepower. However, the issue with this intake is there are just so many bends. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of bends. Every bend is a restriction, so this is not the most efficient, best setup. Not to mention, this is the easiest way to hydrolock your engine because the filter element is down so low in the wheel well. And believe it or not, I have hydrolocked the car before, and I did it in 3 inches of water. So it doesn't take a lot of water to hydrolock your engine. So that's why I kind of gotten away from these setups. So this is setup number 2 that I had on the car, and basically this is the exact same thing as we just saw. I just went ahead and removed the lower part of the tube. So this filter actually terminated inside the engine bay right by the header, next to the battery. But I had this on for a couple years, and no issues with it really. Sound was okay. Horsepower was okay, I guess. Nice thing I liked about it is I didn't have to worry about hydrolocking my engine, and also too, it is a little bit better than this snake kind of setup because there are less bends in it. All right, so let's talk about our current setup. You guys know I've changed it recently. Let's take a look and talk about the pros and cons. So here's my custom setup here. I got the OEM intake elbow, I guess I'll call it. And I got the MAF airflow sensor right where it's supposed to be at the OEM location using this MAF airflow adapter. Again, you can pick this guy up down in the description box. I'll have a link to it on Amazon. And then I'm running a very standard filter that actually came with the cold air kit. So this setup has been working out fine. 0 codes, definitely a little bit increase in horsepower and a little bit increase in sound. But we're going to try today to improve on this and make something that looks better and performs better. Alright guys, those other intake setups were pretty cool, but we got one that's much better right here. If you guys are familiar with the Toyota Yaris or the website Toyota Yaris World, there is a ton of information on there where guys are really trying to get as much performance as possible out of their Yaris. The Yaris uses the exact same engine that was found in the Gen 1 XB as well as the Gen 1 XA. So I've been a member of Yaris World for years, and I have found an intake setup that on there that I really like by a guy named Tudor, who did all sorts of interesting stuff with the intake manifold as well as the throttle body off of Corollas and a custom intake. So I'm copying his today, and hopefully I can make it work on this Scion XB. So let's go over some of the stuff you're going to need in order to do this custom intake. Start off with the air filter. This is a block shorty. It's 5 inches. It's got this wide open giant opening here because it's going to work with the Blox RAM. The Blox RAM adapter, intake adapter, whatever the heck you want to call this thing. It is awesome. I have something very similar to this on my Prelude, and this thing makes hella difference. I'm telling you right now, I have dyno results showing that this makes a big difference. So basically this is a 2.5 adapter, which is going to work great with our MAF airflow adapter here. So this is 2.5 as well, or 63 millimeters if you're shopping online. I'll have links to everything down in the description box so you don't have to worry about trying to find this stuff. But anyway, we know this thing works because it worked on the previous intake setup. no codes, everything worked great. So if we do have issues, I know it's not this. Moving on to the battery, this is a Group 26R battery. The R stands for reverse, and what that means is that the positive terminal is on the left-hand side of the battery as opposed to where it typically is located, which is the right side of the battery. We need it on the left side in order to work with our car in this particular setup. This is a battery that's found in the Toyota Yaris. We should have no issues whatsoever making this thing work. Let's move on to grounding. I got a ground wire here. I believe it's 2 gauge or 01. I can't remember which one it is. But I also have a terminal which should fit over it just fine, as well as one to go on the opposite side so that we can actually ground the battery. Also, we're going to need tie downs. Pick these up at the local auto parts store, and these are the L-shaped ones, which should allow us to get creative when mounting the battery and making sure that it's being held down tight. And lastly, I got a secondary grounding strap that was given to me as a gift from my friend Gio. I was supposed to use this on the Prelude, but I used 3 and it worked out great. This was an additional one, so we're going to find a place to use this. This is going to go from the engine somewhere to the frame of the car. So now that we got this all figured out, let's see if it's going to work. I'm going to start by removing everything from inside of the engine bay that's on the intake side, the battery, the intake, the ground wire, and we're going to go from there. Okay guys, I got everything removed. Now let's see if this battery will fit in the way I want it to. And look at that. The reason why we want to use this battery is because we can mount it parallel instead of vertical like the stock battery, and this is how it's actually mounted inside the Yaris. Now the battery platform down there does extend pretty far, so this should be fine just as it is. And let's see if my positive terminal reaches. There it goes. Boom. So for testing purposes, I'm just kind of throwing together this intake. I got the RAM part mounted to the MAF adapter. I'm taking the reducer now, sliding this in. This is going to be a tight fit, I know, because I've measured it, and I just kind of want to see if it's going to work. So before we tighten stuff down and everything like that, I'm going to kind of cram all this stuff on here to make this as short as possible. See if we can get this on and then get the filter on like this. So the reason I really like this air filter, and I think it's the best on the market, is because I actually have dyno results to back that up. When I first took my Prelude to the dyno last year, I was running a filter very similar to this, basically an eBay filter. We went ahead and did some pulls, and then the tuner said, hey, go ahead and take that filter off. So we just removed the air filter and wound up picking up 3 horsepower at the wheels.
Got 4 horsepower without that filter, bro. That's a mod.
You're right.
It's all you.
So then when I went back to the dyno, I knew that was a weak point, so I wanted to step the filter game up, and I went with the Blocks filter, very similar to this. When we went to the dyno the second time and we ran this filter, got our numbers, pulled the filter element off, ran it again, there was 0 improvement. In other words, this thing is not restrictive. All right, let's see if we can get this sucker in here. Check it out, man, we got it in there. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited about this. This is something I've been thinking about for a long, long time, and I'm so happy that I was able to make it happen. It really didn't cost so much money either. Now, we're not finished yet. I got to tie everything down, make sure this is going to work for the long haul, but everything fits. So let's go ahead and continue with the installation. Let's get the battery tied down. Let's get the intake in there. Let's get the battery grounded. Let's do some work. Alright guys, we're almost ready to fire this up to see if it works, but before we do, we'll have to deal with this hose that goes from the cylinder head to the intake. Basically it just recycles gas. It's not necessarily needed, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a little plug to plug up the hole so that we don't have any vacuum leaks. So there are kind of a million ways you can do this. A lot of times what you can do is get a piece of hose and put a bolt in it and figure out a way to secure that bolt in there using a worm gear or something like that. But for this application, what we're going to do is we are going to use this little door stopper thing that is actually for a Prelude or a cord. I can't remember which car it's off of. But essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to remove this protective sleeve off of this hose so that we can get a little length here and give it a snip, just like that. Now this cannot get sucked into the engine. I've already checked it out. There's no way it can get pulled in through the little vent. But what we're going to do here is we're going to plug up this end of it, just like this. No one's ever going to know. I'm going to take one of these guys, put it over there to keep it secure, and then we're going to go ahead and reattach this to the engine bay. And now plug up the vent on the valve cover. It works! No codes. What'd you think of that? Pretty killer, huh? X is chirping third, baby! Let me show you the final setup. Alright, here it is. Final setup. No issues with the intake. It's been on here for several days. No codes. The straight through design, the most efficient way to get air to your engine, no question. It's nice and short. It's getting lots of fresh air due to the fact that I don't have any splash guards. I don't know if you could see that, but also it's down in this corner here where there's going to be a lot of air coming up underneath the bumper and through the grills. It's also further away from our intake manifold as well as our header. So love this setup. I think it's a fantastic balance between looking cool and giving you a lot of power. Probably better gas mileage, but as you guys know, I drive this thing like I stole it every time I turn the key. My battery tie down, let's talk about that real quick. What I did is I got a little piece of aluminum from Lowe's, and I went ahead and measured it, hacked it. I'm actually using the factory tie down locations, and all I did was bend the J hooks so that they would grab easier. And so far it's been good, man. This thing is in here pretty solid. I do have a little black rubber cover coming for in the mail for this, so it'll mirror this when all said and done. And I've had no voltage issues. Everything's been good. Kind of final reroute of the secondary ground is from the negative terminal around the fuse box, kind of tucked away, and terminates in the exact same spot as the original one. So I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment below if you enjoyed this intake setup, if you think there's a better one. If you have any questions, let me know. You guys know I answer every single comment. And yeah, thanks so much for the love lately, guys. I'll see you next Tuesday. Toaster Tuesday for the win. Later.